Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for October 12th through 16th, 2020. How are you doing? Wow. Well, we are entering a very strange time, I think. We'll see how this plays out. But tomorrow, Mercury turns retrograde, and we have Mars retrograde and very powerful squares with the Capricorn planets. So Mars and Mercury are our main action planets, and both retrograde together. We're on the road to nowhere. This is how it's going to feel. And yet, we've got to keep our eye on the prize of the bigger picture of what's happening. There's a weird energy going on because we're coming into this 3-week period of time of this Mercury retrograde, which completes on November 3rd, the day of the US elections, and so much of the freedom of this world, of this country, of the US, of the whole world, of galaxies beyond what we can imagine, hinge on this election. And we are fighting for our freedom and autonomy from the AI machine. And it feels there's this massive squeeze of pressure in these transits right now, and a very strange time of inaction. But it's because we're shooting off in new directions. The whole energy of this Mars retrograde in Aries is about, we can't keep going the way we're going, right? Like, we can't keep cycling around in the dark ages. This evolution has got to continue forward now. It's time. And the light is coming in, and they don't want, it's like what I've been shown, and I've been talking about this, but like the amount of money, resources, energy that has to go into holding down the frequency vibration on this planet right now is off the charts. And the light that's coming in, the ascension energies, are organic, increasing, and pouring in. So nothing can stop what's coming. This is a spiritual experience and a spiritual evolution. So it's really important for us to keep our eyes on the prize with that, because this time it's going to be weird. We've got 3 weeks of both of our main action planets in retrograde, heading into this intense kind of crux of the timeline war, a psychic battlefield on our planet. And yet this Mars retrograde is saying it's because we can't keep going the way we're going. We got to go in a whole new direction. And that's for us individually and collectively. So we're heading into this Libra new moon, which will be happening on Friday, the 16th. And so there is information in the description box below for the Libra new moon activation. I'll be getting a video out about that soon as well. And this is kind of a culmination of these energies heading us into this portal. Now, with the energy of the Mars retrograde is like, we can't keep going the way we're going, because that is these old patterns, these old personality constructs, the old way, the dark ages. And it's interesting to know where we're at right now in this shift of ages. When you look at astrology as a whole, every time we shift from a sign to the next sign, there's a bloom of energies. Like, you would think that as we're coming to the end of one sign, it would be like, oh, a little of this sign, a little of that sign on the cusp, right? But it's not like that. It's like these delineated energies, and at the very end of the sign, there's a bloom of the energy of that sign. At the beginning, there's a bloom of the energy of the next sign. And so we're in this bloom of the Piscean age, of the darkest dark of the Piscean age, but also the lightest light. We can't get into the age of Aquarius without grabbing a hold of and reaping the benefit of the Piscean age, which was Christ consciousness flooding into the planet. And then everything dark was like trying to clamp that down, make it wrong, bad, evil, hated. and using the oneness consciousness of the Piscean age for the groupthink that could allow the genocide and persecution of the light beings, And so congratulations for making it through the Piscean age, supernova soul. But for the supernova soul right now, it's like we know that this is about a mass planetary awakening, but this is also our awakening out of the lower matrix and into our God self. We're running out of options. We're running out of choices. And so there's a magic here to this inaction time, this 3-week portal. It's like, go ahead and go nowhere, like let go of all of your preconceived notions of what it is you're here to do, what it is you're here to accomplish, like your list of things. It's just, we've gotten so caught up in the material, part of the agenda of the energies on the planet to keep our spiritual evolution from going forward is materialism and ego constructs, right? So we are our body, we are our items and things we accumulate and our wealth, and we are our body. And then souls, as they pass out of this body in this time, have an attachment and creates a very confusing, dark energy in the lower astral plane. This is just one factor in the energies that are holding back this spiritual evolution. And so in that darkest dark, in that corner, in that nothing, in that nowhere, that is where we find our true self. That is where we find our God self. That is where we have the illumination of this Christ consciousness. Now, supernova souls, you're here to receive this vibration. You have these codes in your DNA and to hold this light in your body. So where we're at is this crux of the timeline war, crux of the energetic battlefield, and know that there's a psychic, this is part of the deal. It's like when you get deeper and deeper into your spiritual work, inevitably you're going to come to this place of knowing that we're all connected in one consciousness, right? And that's where we're struggling, because how can we move into the light and keep this dark, evil crap on the planet? We can't. It's like, it's got to go, right? And we're kind of in this place where I feel like a lot of souls are waiting for something like, well, hopefully there'll be a shift, right? There will be a shift and we'll get through this. And, and it's like the message for you supernova souls is you are the shift. Nothing can come through and change and break the lower paradigm, or what comes through and breaks the lower paradigm is the light. And you are here to hold this vibration. And it's really hard sometimes. It's like I just see souls going back and forth between the dungeons of the Piscean age and hopelessness. Okay, so this is important because this is how they want you to feel. So if you're feeling these things, you've gotten sucked back into that lower matrix vibration. And the key to this part of our evolution is to vibrate at a higher frequency, allow that for ourselves. And it's not easy because, like I said, there's all these mechanisms of psychological mind control going on they've been put in play from Atlantean time, But the feeling of hopelessness and defeat, those are key energies right now that show you that you're under psychological attack. And then if you can say to yourself, oh, that's the lower matrix trying to pull me back in, it's not true. And allow yourself. So this portal that we're going in is like, drop it all, like go naked and stand in front of God consciousness and recognize that is who you are and what you are. Because the other thing that's happening is, we've got, so Mercury turning retrograde is putting it back into that direct opposition with Uranus. And this is like, hey, what's got to give? What's got to change? What do we need to change in our perspective in order to allow this Aquarian age to happen, to allow this spiritual evolution to happen, to be the living, breathing example of what's possible in New Earth, you know? And so it's all the self-worth issues. Are you worthy with Taurus energy? And also, but also an opportunity to value who you are. So when you come up against that lower matrix control energy psychological attack, you can also step back and step away from that and say, and let that validate who you are as a soul, you know? Like, whoa, if you understood how many resources were going into holding you back from your light and your truth, and be like, whoa, it's validating. Let it all validate you right now. And but we've got that Mercury opposite Uranus. We've got Mars square Pluto. We're just coming off of Mars square Pluto, Mars coming into a square with Jupiter. Now, the Jupiter energy is about cracking open, cracking the light coming through. Jupiter brings opportunities, right? And so it's like, what's the benefit of all of this Capricorn energy? You know, what's the benefit of this Pluto, Saturn, Capricorn? You know, Jupiter's bringing in the opportunities and saying, hey guys, it's about something new. It's about something different. It's about, you know, we've got to disconnect from all the false old garbage stories. And it's really hard because this is part of the long-standing agenda to keep us separated as light workers in our compartmentalization, feeling like you're the only one and you're not. We're here together. There's so many living masters on the planet right now, and very evolved souls and pure star being babies who have never been to Earth before, bringing their just like pure consciousness by being born, changing the energy. And we're all here together, working together, right? So that's another lower matrix energy. It's like, oh, you're in a cage, you're all alone. It's only you, you know, your prison. And this is this well thought out long-term agenda, you know, to keep us decompartmentalized or compartmentalized. And we got to get decompartmentalized, you know, back to wholeness and oneness. And that is the focus of these next 3 weeks. It's like, yeah, you are not all any of that stuff. And this is the reason for this is because we've got the sun. I was like, okay, whoa. You know, Mercury opposite Uranus, turning retrograde, Mars retrograde, square Pluto, square Jupiter. And then we have the sun. And the sun in Libra is just had a square with Jupiter, now coming into an opposition with Mars, and then a square with Pluto. So it's like linking up all these energies. And the sun is our identity. Like, who do you think you are? And so it's like, we're going nowhere. And then we're also nobody because we don't know who we are, because we've been fed a false agenda that we are our things and that we are our body. And if you go against these group think energies, you know, it's like revolutionary. But it was like, that is actually what's happening. I mean, this Uranus activation, Uranus does rule revolution. And this is a revolution of the mind as one by one, we break free of that lower compartmentalized cage of the lower thinking, the lower matrix, and the materialism. And because we're so much more, and I know we know this conceptually, supernova souls, that there's so much more. And you've been shown this. But then we get in our day and we get sucked back into this hopeless, you can never win, why even try? I mean, there's literally this type of energy being piped into the vibrational frequency waves. And yet you're stronger than all of that. And everything you've gone through for this Earth evolution has been about this moment. This is your initiation moment where you claim back your initiation and who you are as a spiritual being. And so this weird portal time, which it feels like, doesn't it feel like, are we even going to see the other side of these elections in the US? Like, are we, does time go on past there, right? And the reason why we're having that feeling is because as these planets turn direct in just a few short weeks, it's going to be a complete different energy. Like, we're moving in new directions, you know? So this 3-week period of time is really crucial to sit tight and prepare yourself, get organized, clean up your life, clean house on this personality. These are lower personality constructs. These sun transits are like all of these unresolved lower ego personality constructs that are left over from traumatic past lives. And so that trauma body is lit up for sure, right? But this portal energy is like, okay, let everything go, push you there to that nothing, and to the nowhere. Because the new world that lies ahead, we don't have the roadmap. We don't even know who we are. And so this portal, when you go through a portal, it's about going. So the picture is kind of like taking this opportunity to go to this oneness principle and reaffirm your identity as your God self. And the picture I'm getting right now is when you came into conception in this lifetime, and there's a moment right before conception that you're completely whole and you're outside of duality. And that's where we need to go to get through these times and affirm and reaffirm the spiritual truth of this world, the spiritual truth of who we are as spiritual beings. And so it's that whole thing again of like letting everything that's happening, positive or negative, understand it's working for you. We're in that fourth dimensional place where the Hall of Mirrors, where it's like, whether it's for you or against you, it's all for your awakening to your God self. Like, we have within us, by our birthright, a connection to the divine. And everything for all of these thousands of years in this earth realm have been about disconnecting us from that. And that's the glorious energy that's like just beyond the veil of this bullshit, of what we're being shown. And then again, being like, oh, this whole world is breaking down because it's not true. It's false. It's a lie. Our ego constructs a lie. And so it's like, can you give yourself permission to, I know we've been doing this all year, but like, go into your cave, go to your igloo, go to your lodge, and let go of everything of who you thought you were and where you thought you were going. Because what if it's more amazing than you can even imagine? And when you can go to that place of this joy, this glorious light, that's the divine timeline. And that's your work. And that's also the moment, the present moment. And so that's what's going on. And even though we're going alone into our lodges, the time of joyful celebration of coming together in real time is just around the corner. And so this is the very last couple of days of this Jupiter sextile Neptune, this kind of that glorious light coming in, that like, this is about Christ consciousness. It came to the planet like a vector in the beginning of the Piscean age. And the Piscean age was about clamping down and persecuting that energy, calling it wrong, bad, and evil, and distorting everything that gets anywhere near life force. See, this is the key here with this Mars retrograde. Mars at home in Aries is about our access to life force. Now, so we're living in a parasitic paradigm where the lower matrix energies are feeding on our power. And that's what's holding that paradigm. We're feeding it. And so for a supernova soul, you most likely by definition have contractual arrangements with this kind of reptilian control energy through lifetimes. It's like you came in here to try to get this off of the planet, to try to heal your whole lineage. And sure, just a little agenda, no problem, right? And then when you engage with these narcissistic reptilian control energies, you're then part of the game. And this is what's happened to us again and again, is like we got, the minute you engage, you get sucked into this energy, and then you're trapped in these lower, these karmic relationships with lower evolved people that you shouldn't even be interacting with at all, the higher beings in the galactic communication council energy that are working out of the oneness principle, they won't even interact directly with these reptilian energies, and here we are just completely immersed, trying to hold our vibrational frequency, trying to hold our light, trying to hold our truth, and this is the psychic war. It's like when you feel those low feelings, it's like, what can you be like? Okay, this is part of the psychic game, the battlefield. They want me to feel hopeless and like I can never win and to disconnect. So the narcissist energy. So you've got these contracts with this authority energy, reptilian authority energy, and then that plays out in your personal relationships. So fun, right? And then you got just like this hook in because you want to help and heal, and you've chosen like the sickest, most empty, lost souls just try to, and they just end up feeding on you as a source, and then you feel bad for their pain. So much of what the supernova soul is feeling right now is like bad for the people, the lower evolved people around you, because you're so aware of karma on this other level. I mean, you're so aware of action and reaction that you cannot bear to leave these narcissists with their own pain. And some souls have gotten so empty and so disconnected, they've kind of already chosen, they're playing outside of the laws of karma. It's kind of like you can sell your soul and then have a nice cushy earth life and play out a whole bunch of dark stuff for the light workers. And then you kind of get recycled. It's kind of like, well, I just want to have, my material, existence. I want to have my position. I want to have my this and that. This is just kind of metaphorical and also real. And here you are, ultra sensitive soul, full of love and care and wanting to heal and bring balance and justice back to this planet. And you're letting yourself be cluttered down with all of this garbage of souls that will never rectify. And so you got to save yourself. It's this time to be selfish, because everyone has, even those souls that are completely empty and have decided to play out these dark agendas, they still have, by definition, their connection to source because they exist. And this is where we have to be like, everybody has their own divine connection available to them. And your way to help is to be fully devoted to your divine nature. This is who you are in your birth. It's who you are as an advanced soul. It's what you know best. It's the only way you feel good here, And then recognizing the dark feelings are, 1, the lower matrix psychological control games, 2, these people, souls in your family and your intimate partners and friends and associates or whatever, that you're feeling bad about how bad they're going to feel when they have to have that karma come back of how they treated you. So they're feeding on your precious spiritual life force energy. That's what this Mars retrograde is about, taking that back while you're taking on their garbage. of dark feelings that can never be resolved by you. And it's not helping anyone or anything. And so this is where you go, all right, my hall of mirrors is one that's full of light. And I'm stepping into it right here, right now. I'm going to identify with, maybe this Mars, the sun transits, these are going to last through the week, and leading right up into that new moon in Libra. So it's like this total identity crisis, but it's like pushing us into the light of the sun, the spiritual light that's within our heart, and the truth of who we are as spiritual beings, and living right there. And it's going against everything, your list of things to do. It's going against everybody who wants your attention. It's going against all of the drama agendas, coming back to like part of the lesson of this Mars retrograde is like your attention, your life force. It's about taking back our life force for ourselves, not even realizing we had it. And then if we didn't realize we had it, we didn't realize we were feeding the lower matrix with it. And we've been programmed to fear this energy like it's somehow destructive or wrong or bad. The fire of life that's ours by birthright, by just existing, and taking back this energy for ourselves, and being selfish in that way, as far as like, this is what I'm here for. And I'm going to reorient my whole life to this. Because the sun is about our lower ego constructs and the higher ego, which is our God consciousness. And so it's like a breakdown. I mean, when these matrix breakdown, psychological controls breakdown, and our personality constructs breakdown, you feel like you're going crazy. You have no idea who you are and what you're doing. That's good. That's exactly where you need to be right now. Sorry. But it's so beautiful, because it's like you got to get to that being nobody and going nowhere. And like the room, making room for this light of the sun that's in your DNA to bloom and flower and be a living, breathing example of what we're really doing here. That's taking back that life force and owning it for the divine timeline, for the highest expression, and this is where supernova souls have been so like burdened with this, a bunch of shame and guilt feelings, right? Deep programming. And a lot of this goes back to being targeted for your light. Like, who are you to have that? And that's somehow dangerous for us. It goes all the way back. It really goes, the quintessential clearing is this Atlantean time programming, when this all started, that this life force, this Kundalini energy, which is essential to spiritual ascension, was demonized as destructive, and these supernova souls carry so much of the shame that's not yours. It's like your whole lineage is shame. There's a great redemption coming, actually, for these souls, because as we become aware in our consciousness of the actual dark that's happening on the planet, and then you can come into this true light of who you are as an advanced soul, as an initiate in your pure soul essence, uncorruptible. And that redeeming is when we lift off all we're carrying for the souls around us, for our ancestry, for the collective, and say, go ahead, take your garbage. And these are these dark, heavy feelings, that lower matrix energy, the psychological attack, and you feeling bad about what all the bad energy is going to have to, what it's going to take. Like, this isn't a picture of this. It's like your abuser who's treated you in ways that you couldn't even think of doing to other people. You couldn't even conceive of this. And your abuser, and you're taking on their pain, their soul pain, for the abuse that they caused you. And it's like, okay, just beat me down into the ground, right? And what is this beating down about? What is this burning about? What is this attack on the light about? It's about purifying and pushing you. You have chosen on some level this whole thing. You've said yes on some level. Why? Because you want out of this trap. You want to be the God self that you are. You want to claim back that uncorruptible soul. You want to claim back the soul purity. You want to live from that place and celebrate this evolution, this Gaia, this abundance principle, this free energy, this access to our own life force, and celebrating it with dynamic, creative, exciting projects. The level of life and experience and expression that's available to us right around the corner is so beyond, and then when you're in that lower matrix place, be like, this is not, I know there's so much more. I know that there's so much more. I know I came to get out of this trap. I came to choose the most sick souls of my whole lineage as parents, to release myself from this lower trap. And you're right there. And we got 3 weeks of the birth canal of being reborn. And that's interesting because I haven't talked about Venus. Now, as Jupiter sextile Neptune is coming off, this magic of the light coming in, of just like, whoa, you guys, there is this divine illumination that's just beyond the veil of this dark nightmare. And that's so much more true to who you are. And it's just right there, And then, but that's coming off, but we're going to still feel it through the end of the month. And Venus is coming into, it had its just coming off of its trine with Uranus and moving into its trine with Jupiter. So next weekend, we've got that Mars square Jupiter, Venus trine Jupiter, and the sun transits. And so it's just like, let it break down, let all the faults break down, all the lies break down, all the lower matrix break down. And Venus in Virgo, the Virgin, birthing us back into our purity. And claim that and own it and love it and celebrate it. You've gone through so much as a supernova soul. And now it's time to reap the rewards. That's just how it's got to be. It's just the facts. That spiritual light you came and you gave again and again to try to save this dark souls. It's like, that shit's coming back to you in buckets. And maybe that's part of this Mercury opposite Uranus. Like, are you ready for the new world? Like, are you ready to receive your free energy abundance? That's Mars retrograde, hooking us back up to our life force. Do you deserve it? And Mercury in Scorpio turning retrograde. Whew. Darkest dark coming to light, and just remind yourself that this is it. It's the darkest dark and the lightest light. And you find yourself in that darkest dark, and right around the corner is the lightest light. If you can remind yourself that it's a mechanism of control and that you're carrying the pain of your abusers, and it's game over. Cannot continue in this way into the new age. Mars says, the way you're going, you can't keep going the way you're going. And our spiritual thing, as much as we've gone through these huge, we've all had our experiences of spiritual growth, but they've been micro. Now it's time for the macro. Are you ready for that? Can you be the bucket of love of Christ consciousness? Can you hold this in yourselves? See, the thing about this, it's like, our true nature as supernova souls in our full expression. Like, you finally feel better. You finally feel good. It's like you're moving into that new paradigm. You're holding that higher vibration, the new age, and it's like you finally feel okay here. And so we're just teetering on the edge. And are you worthy? Are you done playing out the dark stories of your ancestors and your abusers? And are you ready to be the light you are? Because you can't be the light here for anybody else until you can receive it for yourself. And that low self-worth garbage where, it's like you're blaming yourself for all of the sickness in your whole ancestral lineages. You got to get out from under that. We got to. And so anyway, hopefully this is helpful. There's just so much energy going on. And it's weird because there's so much shifting, right? Like just tectonic plate shifting. And yet Mars and Mercury retrograde, you're not going anywhere. And so why not be here? And let's be here together. Let's use this time to connect very deliberately, energetically. When you find yourself in that lower matrix and you crawl yourself out, be like, supernova souls, we're doing it. Yeah. So thanks so much for being here with me, being on the journey, trusting me as your facilitator and guide. We are here for the highest high. We are here for this alignment of the divine timeline, the light flooding in, the Christ consciousness. We have the codes. We are the second coming. And as soon as we can find the permission for that, which is going to come with this great cleansing, as the darkest dark is revealed of what's been happening, the great redemption of these souls. And thank you so much for bringing your love and your light and your healing, resilient, coming back again and again to go through the beating you've had to go through to get back to your God consciousness. And what a celebration lies ahead. And so hang in there and let me know how you're doing. And I look forward to seeing you soon, hopefully on that Libra new moon activation, powerful turning point in the dark to light. So it's time for justice, true spiritual justice, to come back to our planet. And you are leading the way in holding the light and releasing all of the dark stories. So I look forward to seeing you then or on the next update. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.